wanaendelea kulipa, tunawapongeza.
Zaidi ya Wakenya 45% wamekopa pesa ya Hustler Fund. It is the most preferred fund currently in the country across all the borrowings in this country.
As Kenyans mark the one-year anniversary of Hustler Fund program, a sum of 39.7 billion in loans have been dispersed to individuals and groups, and this amount has reached 21.8 million individuals. Choromo Dennis, EBN TV, Prime Edition.
Now, stakeholders drawn from different sectors are pushing for tax reforms that will reduce the cost of living that many Kenyans continue to grapple with. The stakeholders have recommended that the VAT threshold should be lowered from 5 million in a bid to increase revenue collected.
We're working on looking at better solutions, a better approach to that. So all in all I'm to say is that as KRA, we are an integral part of this process. We continue to contribute to it. We want to learn from it, and we are very much looking to the final output, the final recommendations that will then help us in guiding our future approach to tax administration.
So we want to make sure that our design is based on balancing out, but more importantly, we also have to recognize, and I've seen the market has come out and told us, what are we fearing? Well, what we see here, what is distorting the picture is because we have market segmentation. And we should make sure that we crush the segmentation, or we are able to navigate the market segment. So we have two options. How do we navigate across segments, or how do we crush that segmentation? If that segmentation is, especially between formal and informal, we should crush, isn't it? But again, when you tax beer, wine and spirit, we are creating a segmentation. How do we marry the two? That's what we are trying to do. How do we optimize? And then, of course, there is also another segmentation of inputs and final output, isn't it? It's another form of segmentation. But look at it this way. In most of the cases, we have seen that what we considered inputs is also a final consumption component. So when do you call it an input, and when do you call it a final consumption product? So you also have to make sure that somebody made those comments, and I was like, look, ethanol is being consumed as directly, isn't it? But it's also an input. How do we make a division? But it's essentially, these are the areas we wanted to get the reality check. If we don't have the reality check, then we cannot get going.
Jubilee Party members allied to its Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni have criticized the National Dialogue Committee's final report, noting that it has failed to address the cost of living. Kioni's team has opposed creation of the Office of the Prime Minister and the Office of the Official Opposition, stating that it was not as the reason why Kenyans were demonstrating earlier this year.
It is very, very immoral of us to think that we can start creating offices for people while people died when they were demonstrating in the streets. Watu hawakwenda milolongo ama demonstration maandamano kwa sababu ya ofisi fulani. Watu walienda kule kwa sababu ya gharama ya maisha. This document falls short of that issue. Ilikuwa gumu sana kuongea na watu wa KK. Hawakutaka hayo mambo yasugumzwe.
For the speaker to purport to elect a whip for the Jubilee Party, that is none of his business. We as a party are the ones who will write to the speaker to tell him who is the whip of Jubilee Party in the House. If government is paying 22% to borrow, will the banks lend to small business, or are they going to lend to government? That very high interest rate is what has led to an upsurge in non-performing loans. I'm sure you have all seen the FKE, Federation of Kenya Employers, statement from a few days ago showing job losses, I think estimated over 70,000.
Now, however, members of the Jubilee Party allied to nominated Senator Sabina Chege have come out to support the report by the NADCO team. And the team says that even though the committee failed to fully involve the Jubilee Party, they still support the outcome of the dialogue.
Kubaliana na mambo mengi ambayo yamesemwa, haswa tukianza na mambo ya kuleta amani katika taifa hili. Mambo ya kuleta gharama ya maisha pia yamehusishwa pale, na sisi kama chama cha Jubilee tunasema kwamba tunashirikiana na serikali katika zile jitihada zote ambazo inaendeleza ili kuhakikisha kwamba gharama ya maisha imeenda chini.
Our recommendation was that the presidential candidate or the leader of opposition becomes the leader of minority party in parliament, and then the deputy becomes the leader of minority party at the Senate. This is a process, and I think from what we have been explained to, there are several. This is a legislative process. But for now, with the current cost of living, of course, the referendum is not recommended now. Though we appreciate it's going to be a process, and we are open to that kind of negotiations to see how it's going to be done. But for the current position as it is, referendum is not recommended now.
In the actualization of this report, whether it is through a parliamentary process or through other means, Jubilee must play an integral part of that particular process. So right now we are saying, because we are the first group to say, no mandamando, let us negotiate, we are happy that this particular process that we have rooted for, dialogue, has now given us this good report, and we pray that all those who are still yapping around other processes will come back to their senses and say, Kenya is bigger than all of us.
Right, to the newspapers now. Let's take a look at who is making headlines and why, or at least what is making headlines. So I'll kick it off with the Daily Nation, which talks about referendum. Ruto allies tell off Raila. On referendum, Ruto allies tell off Raila. ODM chief demanded the people's input on offices of the opposition leader and the office of the prime cabinet secretary. And now there is a dilemma on whether or not to call a plebiscite to implement some of the proposals made by the National Dialogue Committee. In the report appears to be the next battleground, for the president and Azimio leader Raila Odinga. The outcome of such a vote in the president's first term could determine the winner of the 2027 contest, and both camps are aware of that. So that story is on page 4 and page 5 of the Daily Nation. But perhaps we should get off started with what exactly does the law says, or what exactly does the Constitution says. And the law change, or the changes that require a plebiscite, or basically a referendum, is Article 255 of the Constitution, that takes a proposed amendment to this Constitution shall be enacted in accordance to Article 256 or 257 and approved in accordance with Clause 2 by a referendum, if the amendment releases to the supremacy of the Constitution, the territory of Kenya, the sovereignty of the people, and the national values and principle of governance. I'll take that again. If there are articles that are to be amended in the Constitution are those that touch on, one, the supremacy of the Constitution, that touches on the territory of Kenya, that is boundaries of Kenya, that also touch on the sovereignty of the people and the national values and principles of governance. Other changes that require referendum include an amendment to the Bill of Rights, the term of office of the president, the independence of the judiciary, and the functions of parliament, and the objects, principles, and structure of devolved government. So if there are any of the clauses within the NADCO committee report that touch on these issues that have been highlighted by the Constitution, then that definitely means it has to be decided by the people. That is a referendum. And in case you're wondering, have we ever had a referendum in the country? Yes, we have. The 2010 Constitution was brought about through referendum. Remember the yes or no vote in 2007 that led to this to the promulgation of the 2010 Constitution. Well, that was the referendum back then. So if there is to be another referendum, then that means we'll have a new Constitution that will govern the Republic of Kenya, and it is never less than 10 years. And so a constitution has to have been in place for at least 10 years for there to be any sort of referendum to amend that particular constitution. So there is a big dilemma as Ruto opposes Azimio referendum calls. And what is at stake here? Well, the thing that is at stake here is the 2027 general election, so the 2027 presidential contest. And President's allies reject Odinga's demand for a referendum, saying such an exercise would gobble up billions of taxpayers' money on top of slowing down the state's economic recovery agenda. Because truth be told, what we are looking at is campaigns of those who will be for the new constitution and those who will be against, pardon me, the new constitution. We're also looking at a scenario where there has to be a public vote. So it is you again back to the ballot to vote for this particular constitution. So we're looking at billions of money, truth be told, that will be used for this particular exercise. But also you need to ask yourself, if you look at this particular report and some of the recommendations that have been tabled, does it deserve your vote on it? Do you have to have a say on whether or not there should be an office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary, an office of the official opposition leader? Also look at long-term effects of this particular kind of constitutional amendment, because it's not just about what happens in 2027, because if we are to have a referendum, let's say in 2024, that will be in place for 10 years. So we're looking at something that will govern the country long term till around 2034, 2035. So despite the fact that there could be billions of taxpayers, also there's a question on what is the long term goal for this particular kind of constitution amendment. So those are some of the battlegrounds that the two teams will be taking up, and allies of the president, or at least allies of Kenya Kwanza, have rejected that. And the ruling alliance led by UDA Secretary General Cleophas Malala declared that no referendum will take place during Ruto's first term in office, even as political analysts reckon that going for a vote to change the constitution could easily be turned into a protest vote against his administration. Now, here is a psychological thing that you need to understand as well, for that could have led to political analysts saying that this could be detrimental to the Kenya Kwanza administration. Now, this is an administration that has been in office for just 1 year. They were not very successful in quelling the protests, the Azimio demonstrations, because any time that would happen, lives will be lost. There will be more protests on the street. They've also not properly dealt with the cost of living. We've had talks of just the many taxes that have been implemented in various sectors. You've had the talks of the high food prices, the talks of high cost of fuel. So if this particular kind of referendum would come up, then there are those who will be forced to vote against the government just because of what the government has failed to do. That could be a large number. And so that is what political analysts are saying, taking that kind of votes now could be detrimental to the Kenya Kwanza government, as it will just, lay bare what the public really think, or what the opinion of the public really is. And so a loss for President Ruto in the event of a referendum will be perceived as a vote of no confidence against his administration, and could be exploited to create a momentum for the 2027 elections. Because if at all there will be a referendum, and then those that are in support of the referendum win, which is the opposition, then they could use that against him in 2027, and that, of course, would mean that he would have made the history of the first president to just serve a 1-year term. But that is a far, fetched shot. We're still at just the basic level of the team has made its report, and now what are the options on the table? What do the two camps think? What are the reactions from the two camps? And so the far long goal of a referendum is just not yet there. Now, Odinga on Wednesday backed the National Dialogue Committee report, but insisted that the creation of the offices of the leader of opposition and the Prime Cabinet Secretary will significantly alter the structure of government and would therefore require a referendum. So you ask yourself as well as whether or not this particular offices alter any of the articles in the Constitution that have been touched on, including the supremacy of the Constitution, the territory of Kenya, the sovereignty of the people, the national values and principles of governance. Also talk about the Bill of Rights, the term of office of the president, the independence of the judiciary and functions of parliament, and objects, principles, and structure of a devolved government. So that is one of the issues that has been headlined on the Daily Nation. Referendum, Ruto allies tell of Raila. Now the same has also been highlighted on the Star. Why Ruto allies reject Raila calls for referendum. Why Ruto allies reject Raila calls for a referendum, and that is on the Star. Azimio chief calls for vote, even as president disapproves use of taxpayers' billions. And that is a story as well that you can find on page 4 and 5 of the Star after the National Dialogue Committee released its report. And now, as I've explained, there are some of the members within the Kenya Kwanza led by the UDA Secretary General who have disapproved the calls for a referendum, saying, you know, that is not what we need right now. We cannot afford to waste more billions of taxpayer money. It also, of course, cripples to some extent the administration of the Kenya Kwanza government. Now, also top of the page, Hustler Fund turns one with goodies for borrowers. Hustler Fund turns one with goodies for borrowers. That is a story that has been very much highlighted on the Standard. Hits and misses of Ruto's pet project. Hits and misses of Ruto's pet project. The Hustler Fund is Ruto's pet project. And the president's message that raised the hopes and aspirations. The Hustler saw him clinch the presidency. And 1 year after the Hustler Fund was started, president is still hopeful it will solve their problems. Now, of course, there were many promises that were added to the Hustler Fund on Thursday. But let's take a look at some of the numbers so that you understand just how much the Hustler Fund has been used or how much has been spent so far. Now, about 40 billion shillings has been circulated among subscribers of Hustler Fund through borrowing and repayment. Through borrowing and repayment, when you borrow and you repay and borrow again and you repay, well, that circulation has been totaled to about 40 billion shillings. Now, 12 billion has been lent out to Kenyans through the Hustler Fund in the last 1 year. 3.19 million Kenyans have taken loans through the Hustler Fund, and 7.7 no, pardon me, not 3.19 million, but 19 million Kenyans have taken loan through the Hustler Fund. 7.7 million Kenyans are active subscribers, and Kenyans borrowing from the Hustler Fund have made savings of 2 billion shillings, while 2.2 Kenyans who were under the Credit Reference Bureau are now the beneficiaries of Hustler Fund. So those are the numbers so far on Hustler Fund, even as the president said, you know, those who have dutifully been repaying their loans will get a 50% increase limit, while those who are yet to to repay the loans need to do so to avoid any interest rates that may accumulate over time. So, state to reward top Hustler Fund borrowers and increase limits. Even as Hustler Fund misses promised 50 billion shillings mark, it has failed to reach that mark by a deficit of about 10 billion shillings. And the fund has advanced 39.5 billion shillings to over 19 million Kenyans, but low loan amounts and short repayment periods are limiting payment for many borrowers. So those are your key headlines this morning that have been headlined on the Daily Nation. It talks about referendum, Ruto allies tell of Raila, even as Murkomen orders agency to crack down illegal PSVs, particularly now as it is December and we're into the festive season. MPs also summon Machogu, demand neck changes over KCPE irregularities, as also today it's World AIDS Day. Giving prep to pregnant women curbs infections by HIV. So World AIDS Day, question is, have you been tested for HIV? Now, the Standard talks about hits and misses of Ruto's pet project, hits and misses of Ruto's pet project, which is the Hustler Fund. As it marked 1 year since its implementation. Pay boon for teachers as they get extra perks. Big win for Sarai. They'll run Mumia's sugar company. Even as 2 women resolve to live positively to get children. As 2 women resolve to live positively, get children, and fight stigma against HIV as the world marks World AIDS Day. Also on the Star, Why Ruto allies reject Raila calls for a referendum. Experts say 5 key proposals require public vote. 5 key proposals require public vote. So it's a question on whether or not that will happen. Even as Nobel Peace Prize Professor Ezekiel Okemwa takes final bow, and senators raise red flag on TB shortage or TB medicine shortage in the country. So those are your newspaper headlines this morning. All right, Morning Live takes a break. We'll be back in just a bit. Stay with us.
Walisema mnywa maji kwa mkono mmoja,
kiu yake ipo pale pale. Ndiposa tumekuletea wewe mtazamaji wetu
mkono mwingine ili kukata kiu yako na ari yako ya ufahamu.
Naam, ngoma imechezwa mtazamaji, basi hatuna budi kulisakata na kukuletea wewe ufahamu wa kaunti yako,
tukiangazia masuala ya siasa na uongozi,
jamii na itikadi,
maendeleo na changamoto katika kaunti yako. Ungana nami Belinda William,
nami Emmanuel Marwa
kwenye makala ya Gatuzi Langu kila siku ya Jumatatu saa 5:30 hadi saa 6:30.
From the fields to your screens.
Ronaldo. It is Ronaldo. It's 2-1 United.
This is where you will get your full detailed story from football, hockey, volleyball.
Otavio goes once more. Oh, he's done it brilliantly.
Basketball.
Long range three.
All in one.
For exclusive interviews, discussions and sports feature stories.
Every Monday from 2 p.m.
to 4 p.m.
on EBN TV. This is the Scoreboard.
Through the morning rush and the buzz, find the voice you can trust. A voice of reason, a voice of direction, and a voice of hope.
Good morning. Welcome to the Morning Live. I'm Cynthia Nanjala.
And I'm Sammy Adika, Rise and Shine Fox. We hope you are ready for an energizing start to your day.
Absolutely. We are here to bring you the latest headlines and trending news stories from the world of politics,
business and finance, health and lifestyle,
agriculture and sports.
So grab your coffee, sit back and get ready for a fantastic morning of engaging discussions and news segments.
Join us through our social media handles, #The Morning Live. This is Morning Live, exclusively on EBN TV.
Every Saturday from 8:30 a.m.
But we should not be afraid to interpret scripture.
Get to know the story behind the Bible. Why was it written? To whom was it written? And what was happening when it was written? Understand, get to know, learn how to properly interpret the scriptures so that you're not deceived.
In the book of Revelation, and we have started to enter into the happenings because these are things that are going to take place hereafter.
Join Pastor Felix Kevoy and his team as they go through the different books of the Bible and give you the theological interpretation of the same.
At the very introduction of the book of Revelation, the book lays clear what is contained in here.
Every Saturday from 8:30 a.m. on The Theology Show, only on EBN, transforming your world. In a fast-paced world filled with distractions, it's easy to lose sight of what truly matters: your relationship with God. Every Tuesday and Thursday, we take you on a transformative journey of building your faith, without which it's impossible to please God. A journey of introspection and discovery of who you are in Christ Jesus.
For you to walk with God, you should not crumble when you come under pressure. Kama umeokoka, sema umeokoka mpaka mbele ya president, mpaka mbele ya chief justice, mpaka mbele ya kila mtu. Hiyo ndio kuokoka ya ukweli. Kuokoka ya ukweli.
Enjoy a faith-filled environment of worship and ministry of the word every Tuesday and Thursdays from 9 a.m. with Reverend Felix Kevoy, exclusively on EBN TV.
Through the morning rush and the buzz, find the voice you can trust, a voice of reason, a voice of direction, and a voice of hope.
Good morning. Welcome to the Morning Live. I'm Cynthia Nanjala.
And I'm Sammy Adika. Rise and shine, folks. We hope you are ready for an energizing start to your day.
Absolutely. We are here to bring you the latest headlines and trending news stories from the world of politics,
business and finance, health and lifestyle,
agriculture and sports.
So grab your coffee, sit back and get ready for a fantastic morning of engaging discussions and news segments.
Join us through our social media handles, #The Morning Live. This is Morning Live, exclusively on EBN TV.
Walisema mnywa maji kwa mkono mmoja,
kiu yake ipo pale pale, ndiposa tumekuletea wewe mtazamaji wetu
mkono mwingine ili kukata kiu yako na ari yako ya ufahamu.
Naam, ngoma imechezwa mtazamaji, basi hatuna budi kulisakata na kukuletea wewe ufahamu wa kaunti yako,
tukiangazia masuala ya siasa na uongozi,
jamii na itikadi,
maendeleo na changamoto katika kaunti yako. Ungana nami Belinda William,
nami Emmanuel Marwa
kwenye makala ya Gatuzi Langu kila siku ya Jumatatu saa 5:30 hadi saa 6:30.
Hello, praise the Lord. This is Pastor Joseph Musajawaza of Unfailing Love Ministries. This week on Victory Through the Word, it's going to be a special edition on Wednesday from 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. We are going to have a Q&A, question and answer session, where your questions will be answered. Make sure send in your questions early enough. Use the number that is on your screen and we shall have those questions answered. Remember, in this life, iron sharpens iron. When you get answers and counsel from God's word, you'll be victorious and win in this life. Whatever may be bothering you that is relating to scripture, there is an answer through God's word. Make sure you tune in and tell a friend to tell a friend. Remember, Wednesday, 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. this week, only on EBN television. We see you there.
Through the morning rush and the buzz, find the voice you can trust, a voice of reason, a voice of direction, and a voice of hope.
morning. Welcome to the Morning Live. I'm Cynthia Nanjala.
And I'm Sami Adika. Rise and shine, folks. We hope you are ready for an energizing start to your day.
Absolutely. We are here to bring you the latest headlines and trending news stories from the world of politics,
Business and finance, health and lifestyle,
agriculture and sports.
So grab your coffee, sit back and get ready for a fantastic morning of engaging discussions and news segments.
Join us through our social media handles, #The Morning Live. This is Morning Live, exclusively on EBN TV.
Watching EBN TV, transforming your world.
From the fields to your screens.
Playing Ronaldo. It is Ronaldo. It's 2-1 United.
This is where you will get your full detailed story from football, hockey, volleyball.
Otavio goes once more. Oh, he's done it brilliantly.
Basketball.
Long range three.
All in one.
For exclusive interviews, discussions, and sports feature stories.
Every Monday from 2 p.m.
to 4 p.m.
on EBN TV. This is the scoreboard.
All right, good morning and welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. You're watching Morning Live. It is about 49 minutes past the hour mark. So about to get into the conversation of the day this morning, quite an interesting one that you should be part of. You can watch us on our social media platforms, on Facebook, on EBN TV, as well as on YouTube. And our SMS line is open 23059. Feel free to send in your feedback in case you've got any. So let me quickly introduce my guest in studio. I'm joined by Gakwandi Ahian, who is a pastor and an author as well. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much.
And you've got quite a story to tell as well, so we'll be getting into that. She's also an author of the book, How to Cope with Life Challenges, and she'll also be giving us just, the motivation behind that, the details behind that, as well as, why it is important that you get yourself this kind of book that will help you with the life challenges that you have as well. So welcome once again.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and we'll perhaps just get straight into it. People will hear the name and wonder, is she Kenyan? Ahian Gakwandi. So tell us a little bit more about your background.
Okay, thank you so much. My name is Gakwandi Ahian. I'm from Rwanda, but I'm married here. I'm married to a Kenyan. His name is Mulunji Samuel. Yeah.
And we, just looking at the background as well of your growing up, it was a bit tough having lost your parents to the genocide that was, in Rwanda in 1994, and he was, or your parents were one of the people that passed away. So tell us a bit about that, as well as how, that basically affected your growing up.
Okay, basically, the genocide that happened in 1994 against Tutsi in Rwanda, I was very young, so I quite don't remember anything. Yeah? But after the genocide, my parents, they came here in Kenya, because after that, everybody was looking for a safe place to be, you know. And my father decided that we are coming here in Kenya to look for a safe place, but my mom and my dad, they did not make it. They passed on here in this country of Kenya. So they passed on when I was between 4 and 5 years. So as I sit here, I don't have any memories of my mom and my dad. Like literally, I have no memory. Like I can see the pictures, but if you ask me the things I remember about them, there are few things. So living without knowing and having a memory of your mom and your dad is quite difficult. So after when my parents passed on here in Kenya, so we had to go back to Rwanda because we did not have any family here in Kenya. So, but at that time, there's some other family of Rwandese who are here. So we stayed in those family before we go back to Rwanda. So we went back to Rwanda to live with our uncle. The life wasn't easy because you are moving places and you're wondering what is going on. And now you're with another family and you're wondering, I mean, what is happening to me? Even how did I even come here on earth? Because you are trying to find yourself, understanding yourself, and that was quite hard for me. So in my family we are two. I have my big sister and me. We are just two, and it was quite hard. But for me, I think it affected me more than my sister. So I started wondering my identity, who I am, and also living in another family. It was quite hard. And I would want to say this, as I say this is not because I want to protect that my family were very bad, because there's some things I'm grateful they did to me, but we quite lived a hard life. I started working in a bar when I was 12 years. And in that sense, it was like we are looking for a way to survive. You have to go to school, you have to get a school fees. That was explanation. But you can imagine as a girl at 12 years working in a bar, it was not easy. And I will say that I was emotionally abused by who was my auntie at that time. And it was not easy. You're trying to find yourself. Life is quite hard. And nobody is telling you of what happened. It wasn't easy. But one thing I remember, and that one thing that changed my life, is when I gave my life to Christ when I was 15 years. Because at that time, I needed an explanation about life. What is the meaning of life? Why do people have to go through pain? Like it was so, I mean, I was so confused about life. But when I gave my life to Christ, to be honest, that is one decision I've ever made in my life that changed my life. Because I could imagine if I could not have given my life to Christ at that age, I don't know where I would be right now. Because I knew that if I give my life to Christ, this Jesus is going to explain to me of what happened to my life. Because you're wondering, where is my mom? You know, other students in school are saying my mom, my dad, but you don't even understand of what happened. But I don't know why my parents or my family kind of hide that information to us. They have their own reason, but that was very not easy on my side.
Yeah, and we'll get to how you know, after now giving your life to Christ and how things were then. But you know, your parents, you say they passed away in Kenya. Was it due to the attacks that were happening in Rwanda? Was it a particularly different cause?
No, it's due to the sickness. They were sick, It started, my mom was sick, and what I was told a bit later, that she was in Kikuyu hospital. She passed on there, and also my dad. So it's all due to their sickness. But when they came here in Kenya, you see, people are refugees. We used to live in refugee camp. So my dad, I think, was like, I'm trying to do my best for my family, but he did not make it.
And you know, that basically portrays the instability that came after that particular kind of period, because you say, you know, you're moving from one place to another, you're still young, you don't understand what is happening. So let's get to the age of 15 now. When you decided to give your life to Christ, you know, where were you? Was it at a point there was still some instability and you're moving from one place to another? What led to that kind of decision?
I still recall that moment. I remember that time I was so tired. I was in high school, and in let's say Form 1. So that time I joined high school, and my family, the way you are so excited to go to high school, I had not been given, everything as a high school that you are starting in high school, everything that you deserve to go to school. So I was going through a lot in my life, and I could look at other children, they have everything, So I remember one pastor came in school and preached, and I said, I need this Jesus. I want you to explain to me of what happened to me in my life, what even the meaning of life. So that's how I gave my life to Christ. And after giving my life to Christ, you see now in holiday you have to go back home. And my family at that time are not born again. So I used to be a full Christian in school. The moment I go back home, because you see, living with the people who are not born again, you will go back to work in a bar. You are going to be abused. And I used to wonder, God, I have given my life to you, but why my life is not changing? And sometimes someone might be watching and see, after giving my life to Christ, my life must change. But I want to tell you that my life becomes so more tough and tough at each and every day, because I used to still go to work in a bar. I will be sent home for the school fees, and even in school I wasn't performing well, because you see, the issues at home were even affecting me in school. That's my journey, how I started my salvation.
And you've actually brought out such an important aspect of just the environment around you, and how much it can also give you an easy time with the decisions you've made. So you're a 15-year-old, you've made that decision to be born again, but also the people around you are not born again. So at that point, aside from, of course, looking, of being prayerful and just hoping that God will be able to provide a way from you, what other support system was there for you at that point?
I want to be honest. I think for me, I was just depending on God, because I love my family. But I don't know, maybe God knows why he made me go through that. But it was not that easy that I will go and tell my uncle I need this. So I had to learn to depend on God. That I will ask God even to reach to the point to pray for pads. I need pads to go to school. Shoes. Like I was depending on God, because for me, my journey with God started as a father and daughter. Like I will tell God everything that I'm going through. Even before I go to work in a bar, I will ask God to protect me, because I can imagine at 15 years working in a bar, you don't know anything, and people will start touching you. And but how God protected me in that place, it has to be only God.
All right, now you are not just alone, but you also had your sister. And she's the eldest.
Yes.
And at this point, it should be, depending on your eldest a lot of times. So how was it like for you or for your sister from your point of view? If you look at just how things were for her life, how was it for her?
I think my sister, she's a very strong woman, I will say. So for her, she was calm in that storm. Even when we were being beaten, she will stand and look at you. You beat her, but for me, the time you're starting to beat me, I will run all over the place. So we were completely opposite. So even my sister, she's the one who got born again before me. So she knew God before me. So we used to pray together, and she used to beat me. Like she used to discipline me, because she used to say, I am your mom and I am your dad. So I'm very grateful for my sister.
Now I want us to switch this focus to a bit more about you as an author. And you've written the book on how to cope with life challenges. And listening to your story, that perhaps forms the basis of why this kind of book. But before you even took a pen and started writing, is it something that you are contemplating, that I need an outlet to just be able to teach people, to educate people on how they can come up very strong despite of the challenges that they're facing? Was it like something you were anticipating you would one day get to do, or you are hoping you'd get to do?
I think I will say, before we go back there, because this vision of writing a book, it started when God changed my life. As I said, I gave my life to Christ when I was 15. And God changed my life after 8 years. And in those 8 years, I went through a lot. That time I wanted to end my life. That time I felt like I can't go on anymore. Like I was so tired, because it was pain after pain. In those 8 years, I lost my uncle who adopted me. And now I have to start to live with my sister. Sometimes we could not have food, even money to pay rent. As I say, my sister, she's very strong. So she fought for me. Like she's the one who paid for me to finish high school. So after finishing high school, I was so determined that the things I have seen back home, I don't want to be the same like them. Like I wanted to make a difference. So I had my uncle here in Kenya. So I texted him and I told him I want to come to Kenya. But I never told him that I'm coming to look for a job. And you could ask which job I was coming to look for. I was coming to look for a house help job. Let me tell you, I was willing to do anything for me to accomplish my dream. So I came in Kenya in 2013 to look for a house help job. That was the dream I had. So because I thought if I can get a job, I'll be able to get money to get to school. So, and the job I was looking for to work for white people. And at that time, I did not know English.
Oh, yes.
I'm coming from the country where we speak French and my mother tongue Kinyarwanda. But that did not limit me. And I will say that was just God who was leading my path. So when I came in 2013, I met with another family who we used to live together back when before my parents passed on. So they knew that I'm in the country. So they told me, can you come and visit us at home? They used to live in Riara Road. So I went to visit them, but I thought it's just more of a visit. But when I went to see them, they told me, do you want to go back to school? Do you want to join campus? I said, no. This might not be happening. Me, I came looking for a house help job. Someone is offering to take me to campus. For me, that's how God changed my life. Because I choose not to give up. And at that time of waiting, God was dealing with my bitterness because I had a lot of bitterness towards my family. So that waiting season, God was waiting that time so that the moment He's going to change my life, I will be able to know this is God, not anybody else. So that's how I joined campus in Catholic University. They became like my parent. Like I could call them my mom and my dad, and I know they might watch this, and I want to say I'm very grateful for what they have done in my life. So I joined campus. I got a house near school. I mean, you can imagine from living a life without having food and money to pay rent, but you are living a life where you don't struggle with money anymore. I mean, that was God. So for me to write this book, How to Cope with Life Challenge, it's because of the challenge in life I have gone through. So the things I share in that book is the things that have helped me in my life. Because I normally say I cannot share something that have not worked for me. So in this, the book was basically to help people that it is possible, especially for the young people who are giving up so easily in this life. You can be able to cope with the challenge that you're going through. It is possible. As long as you have God in your life, it is possible. Thank you.
And you said the waiting period was about 8 years. And within that, there was a lot of bitterness that you had. You even contemplated suicide. And that is that perhaps reflects what a lot of people are going through. They're in that season where things are not working out. They don't know who to turn to. They don't know where to start from. They've got no jobs. Their families are in not in harmony. And it can be quite a detrimental season. If you really don't know it's a waiting season, you think your life it's just over for you. And so perhaps you can share with the audience and just tell them how should they be able to identify that this is a waiting season? How can they do that? So for them, they can be more patient and just understand that it's a work in progress. God is working with me. God is working in my life.
First of all, if you are a born-again Christian, even the Bible says, I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. There is a promise that God said that I will be with you no matter the situation. So when you know the promise that you have in God, and maybe let me say you are trusting God for a job, and you have been praying for a job and you are not getting anything, but you have prayed about it. After pray, what you do, you have faith knowing that God has a good plan for you. Because God said that if we call upon his name, he will hear us. He will answer our prayer. So the only thing you do is just to wait God to let that time come to pass for you to get a job. Because let me tell you, the moment you have God in your life is secure, because you know that the Lord has a good plan for you. Because for me, in that time, I did not know the waiting season. I did not know about that. But the time that God changed my life, that's how I started looking back. Oh, the 8 years God was shaping my life. Because you could imagine if God would have changed my life at that time with too much bitterness. Because for sure, the motivation behind me wanting to succeed in life is because I wanted to go back and tell my parents, the people who abused me, you say that I will not accomplish anything. See what the Lord has done. The motivation wasn't right. So sometimes even God can see your motivation. So in that waiting season, I thank God because he was shaping my life. I want to say this, that today I have no bitterness towards my family. But I see everything that I went through was for reason. But for now, when you are in the waiting season, you can't see it. Like a mother who is waiting for her to have a child, or you're waiting to get married, you're wondering, God, for how long am I going to remain on this mountain? You cannot understand. But let me tell you, God knows when to give you what you desire. He knows. He knows what to give you in every season in your life. So people, they should not give up. As long as your life is in God, don't give up on God.
Now, here you are, you've written a book on how to cope with life challenges, and it basically just guides people on what they need to do. And even clearly from what you said, it's just all about the motivation behind where you want to be. And so when somebody grabs this copy, what should they be expecting in the book? What should be speaking to them in the book?
Especially, I write this book because it's basically for the young people, but even other person can read that. Because I used to get, young people calling me, they say, I want to give up. But when I look the kind of the things they have and what I did not have, and I used to say, God, these people should not give up. So the moment you read this book, you'll be able to know, how can I navigate my challenge? Be it a young person who is wanting to know the identity crisis, the peer pressure, how to deal with the relationship issue, how do I cope with pain? Some of them, maybe they have lost their loved one. Maybe you are going through a challenge of looking for a job. So you will be able to know, how am I going to navigate my challenge? Or how can I get hope in this season, the tough season that I'm going through? So those are the things they may be able to pick in that book.
And so it addresses quite a diverse number of issues, from jobs, perhaps joblessness, to relationships, marriages, identity crisis, and pain, and so
peer pressure,
and peer pressure. So it is an all-round book that does not specifically focus on perhaps for me as a young person, doesn't just focus on that. It's across all age groups.
Because how this book, I launched this book after COVID. You remember during COVID, everybody just closed themselves in the room and say, everybody was scared. But at that time, I started a ministry in children's home. I have a very passion about children's home because of my life. So I used to go to teach children's home every day during the COVID. And after that, there are some lessons I used to teach them. And I saw how it was making a big impact in those children. So I started with Kawangware, I went to Madare. So I was seeing how it is making impact. And the Lord tell me, write every lesson that you have taught during this time, put it in the book and let it help many people. And that's how I wrote the book. So it was even not it was coming from not an easy time, because that time during COVID, I lost my job. So you can imagine, God is telling you to start a project with no money. But because I knew the God that I've seen in my life, I knew that the Lord who have told me this, he will come through for me.
So I'm just curious, do you have a vision of another book that you are thinking of writing? And if we could get, a sneak peek of that as well.
There's another book I'm writing, because this book does not have my entire story. So there is a book I'm writing about my story, because you see, after that, God changed my life. I got married. This is the place that that I started experiencing my greatest pain. But this is the place that God changed my life. From coming as a house help job, going to campus, getting a job to work as a pastor in CITAM. I'm a student pastor at CITAM. So I see how the Lord has changed my life. So there is another book that is coming. And of course, getting married, I mean, it's a miracle for me. I waited. So there is a lot to share.
And also, I'd love us to focus now on what you look forward to in the future. You're working closely with people because you're a pastor. You're working closely with the children's home, and there's more to do. So if you look at just the kind of life God has planned out for you, what would you say, is in it in the future?
Okay, one thing I'm sure is that I know God has a good plan for me. And for current now, I'm doing my master's in counseling psychology. One of another passion I have, I love counseling. Like, I love to sit with people and listen to what they are going through. Because that time I was going through pain, but I never got someone who can listen to me. So I understand when people are looking for someone to listen to them. So one of my greatest dreams that I have is to finish my master's in counseling psychology and be able now to start working as a professional counselor, just helping people. For me, my dream and my passion is to help people. Because I know when I needed people in my life, I never got them. So I am here to be that person that I wish someone would have been for me in that time.
Now, also, you came to Kenya at a very young age. Basically, you've been able to build a life here. But also, when you look at what happened back home and some of the lessons that have been learned and the growth Rwanda has also had over the years, would you say, there have been lessons that have been learned that, everyone looks back and says, we don't want to go back there. And there's have been adjustments and improvements that have been made. What are some of the things that you can pinpoint from that?
I think one lesson, because that time of genocide I was very young, but one thing I learned through that genocide against Tusti is that forgiveness. Let me tell you, forgiveness is the door that opens for your healing. Forgiveness is everything. Because if it wasn't for forgiveness in Rwanda, I don't know where we'll be. Like, we won't even be talking to one another. So forgiveness is one of the lessons that I learned. And also, even in my life, to be able to forgive people, especially your family member, whom you these are the people who you're expecting them to protect you, to love you. You have high expectation towards them. So forgiveness is one lesson. And the second is see people as God, the way God created them. Because we are all created by God. These things about tribe, those are the things that came in after. But we are all created by God. So for me, I love people as God will want me to love them. I don't want to look where you come from, because God created you, and I don't even know the plan that God has for you. Naweza kudharau, but God has a great purpose for you. So I love people the way God will want me to love them, because even that's how even I expect people to love me. So for me, those are the two lessons that I have learned.
And you've done amazing projects in Kenya. You continue to do a lot of projects in Kenya. Is this something that you've also replicated back in Rwanda?
This is something that I want to do. I think because I started here in Kenya, and I have grown here in Kenya, because I started as a camp intern in CITAM Valley Road. So I have seen growth. Now it's my time to go back to my country and do what the Lord wants me to do. But at the end of it, I want to hear from God where He wants me to, how He wants me to do it.
And I must say, your English is so good. And
yet, you should know. You should know.
And yet you came and you couldn't speak it at all. You actually speak so good. No one will be able to, to say you struggled with the language.
You should remember, the first time I preached in English in campus, it was Kenya, Rwanda, French. I mean, I mixed everything. But let me tell you, the aim is for you to hear the message. But I know it has been a struggle, but I thank God for that.
Indeed, because the book itself is in English. So
yeah, true. Thank you so much.
Wow, what a story. So Ahian, as we I need to pronounce it right, please. Ahian, as we almost wrap this conversation up, a lot of people will struggle with some of these things that your book have tried to address, you know, on peer pressure. A lot of people will struggle on identity crisis. A lot of people will struggle with family pains, with even forgiveness itself. A lot of people will struggle with that. So, you know, to answer it, does the book make this easier for anyone?
Okay, the book gives you like a guideline on how you can cope with life challenge. But again, you have to make a choice. Because I am the product of the choice I made. I chose not to give up. So even as you read my book, you have to make a choice. Maybe you're going through a tough time in your life. You have to, what am I going to do? Because the choice you make in the here and now determine the person that you're going to be in the future. Because we can't go back and change the past. Because you might be here and say, if I read this book, I've already made mistakes. How can I change my life? You can't change the past. But you can make the right choice in the here and now that can give you a great future. And the choice for me I made was not to give up. Let me tell you, sometimes you are in tough season, you are in pain. You read the word of God and say, I am with you. You have to make that choice. Say, God, I believe in your word that you are with me. So even as people read my book, they have to make a choice. And the desire to see transformation in their life.
So it falls down to the choices.
And you desiring to see transformation in your life.
So perhaps you can just have the final say from your side, and you can speak directly to the audience and just speak to them.
Okay. Any person that is watching right now, I want to tell you that don't give up. Don't give up on God. God has a good plan for you. Just wait upon the Lord and he will come through for you. May the Lord bless you.
Amen. Our final details as well as, you know, has the book been released? Where can we get the book? Your social media platforms as well.
Okay, I launched my book in 2021. So if someone wants to get my book, they can, I have my social media I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. They can contact me. My name is Gakwandi Alian or Ahian. So, and then also they can contact me there, and then I'll be able to deliver the book to them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gakwandi Ahian, a pastor and an author, and a soon to be a psychologist as well, for coming in to just share on this incredible topic on just how do we cope with life challenges, and just I hope people can be able to take lessons from your story that, you know, the background really doesn't matter. Eventually, you're able to now build your own, and people that can emulate as well from your story. So quite an impactful one as well. So thank you so much. And that has been the conversation this morning on how to cope with life challenges. You could be watching this and you're at that season where you think it's over for you, think it's done for you. Well, it's not yet, because God has a great purpose for you. You just need to be able to get the right motivation. You need to be more prayerful. You need to you know, to just have an understanding of where you are and make the right choices as well. So it's a new month. What a way to start the month, right? So thank you so much for watching. Have yourselves a wonderful Friday and a wonderful weekend ahead. My name is Cynthia Nanjala. Be blessed.